Hey everybody, it's your new favorite podcast. It's Foamies with the Homies, brought to you by Aleluminati. The best place to stay up to date for all your craft beer news, check out aleluminati.beer. Hey everybody, it's Lucas. Just got something to say before we get into our next episode of Foamies with Homies. For everybody out there, who listens to the show, we're still starting out. It's still brand new, but we appreciate all of your support. And for those of you who do turn in every week, you do realize that we like to have a lot of fun on the show and laugh and crack jokes and stuff. But there was just something I needed to touch base on real quick. A very dear friend of mine, Andrew Karanko, his father is due to have open heart surgery here soon, and he is going to be unable to work for the next 12 weeks. And because of that, Andrew and his family have set up a GoFundMe, which I will have the link posted down below, to kind of help them out in this very tough time. Andrew means a lot to me. He was one of the people that I grew really close to when I first started on Beer TikTok. He made the trip all the way up from Texas, where he lives, to Ohio and to Indiana as well. We've gone to Beer Fest together. We've done a lot together. And so, he really does mean a lot to me. And this is the least I can do, is help spread the word about this GoFundMe and trying to help him and his family out during this time of need. And for everybody out there, if you are able to donate, it would be immensely appreciated. And if you're not able to donate, if you're able to spread the link around, that's going to be posted in the bottom of this video. So if you're an audio listener, it's going to be on the Instagram and our YouTube channel. But if that's all you're able to do, you're still helping out, and it'd be greatly appreciated. So thank you very much, and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to episode 5 of Foamies with Homies. This is a fun one for us, probably the first one that we are featuring a guest, which you guys will find out in the second half. But to get started, how are the homies last couple weeks, man? It's been a little bit since we recorded. We were supposed to do it last week, but I fell ill. So how you guys doing?
Good. What are we drinking? I'm drinking lager.
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Thanks, Jack. Thanks for letting me say I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Actually, let me tell you about my beer.
Yeah.
Freem. We were debating how to pronounce it. I'm 90% sure it's Freem, Family Brewers. But
he calls it Freem. I believe it's Frem.
It's actually Freme.
I think it's P-Frime.
I am drinking Ragnarok New England IPA from False Idol.
Nice. I was going to wear my False Idol hat tonight, but I was going to throw my Colorado jersey on, but then I remembered who I'm actually rooting for in this. Anyways, I'm drinking Anchorage. This is called Personal Space. It's a triple with Phantasm Powder, Nelson Sauvin, and Sabro.
Starting with a triple, huh?
Yeah, I'll finish with the lager. I already showed you the lager that I've been enjoying this week, so I'm really excited to feature it on the pod this week. It's going to be really fun. So, again, though, how was your guys' week? You guys didn't tell me how everything's going.
Everything's starting to pick up at work.
Jack has learned very quickly that I'm not a keeper of secrets. It's like when we went to Beer Dabbler and I was sitting here shouting about how Dangerous Man was taking over another brewery space, and he looks at me and he goes, "People don't know that yet."
Which, actually, Cody, what a great segue. I got to go check out the space that they're moving into this last week.
Is it beautiful?
Yeah, I don't think you've ever been, Cody or Lucas. The old location was Head Flyer Brewing.
I wanted to go bad.
You've maybe had some of their beer. It's a beautiful space. So they're like honestly not having to do like a ton in there.
That's good.
But they're able to bring in a lot of stuff from their old tap room, which is pretty cool because Rob, the original owner, is still involved, and he
Nice.
just had it all sitting in his barn. So they dusted it off, brought it in. There's like a lot of like white tile in that tap room, so it sounds like they're going to cover a lot of that with like wood and make it a little more
Nice.
rustic because that's kind of what the old tap room was like. But yeah, they're excited. It'll be a lot bigger than their old tap room. I love their old tap room, but that was the one drawback. It was so small.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited. It's going to be weird. I'm pretty sure they'll be open by the time I visit you next.
Yeah,
Maybe.
they should. Yeah, they're planning to open, I think, in early June. He
Oh,
said.
this year?
Oh yeah,
Oh, wow. So they're going to open up here in the next like 2 months or so.
yeah.
Next month.
They're brewing in the space there. Which they already have a production space, but they'll brew a lot of the tap room stuff in that brewing space that's there.
Is their production
Yeah,
space the one that's like super north? Not super north, but more north than where they are
it's a
now.
ways out. Yeah, it's in Maple Lake.
That's what I thought.
Max, one of our other counterparts, and we got to go check that out too, and that's also a pretty wild place because it's like you look from the outside and it's just like a pole barn, and it's like a small town, like kind of just outside the cities, and then you walk in, it's just all stainless steel, modern, coated floors, everything. And they had more space in there so they can grow in there. But
Oh, that's cool. So they can expand the production brewery. And then on top of that, I'm sure there's a chance for them over time to expand the physical taproom space. That's
yeah, and
awesome, man.
they're also still brewing Head Flyer beer.
Oh, that's
So
cool. I thought Head Flyer as a brand
yeah,
was totally over. So that's
no,
awesome.
I don't know if I think it's just like a handful of their flagships, like 3 or 4,
It's like a
but they'll still
contract
be in.
brew
Yeah,
situation.
yeah, basically. Um, so you'll still be able to get those, but yeah, I'm excited. It'll be cool.
For those of you who do not know, contract brewing within the state of Minnesota, specifically Minneapolis, seems to be very popular. You guys have a handful of breweries that do it, and it was a big thing for a lot of Illinois breweries. So that excites me because I've been able to see over the course of the last 10 years of my craft beer experience what those breweries have been able to do. For those of you who don't know, namely Hop Butcher, for those of you who don't know that they used to contract brew, they contract brewed out of a place called Miskatonic Brewing, which closed down last year. And then they raised enough money to move into their own space into the city. So contract brewing is a way. You guys need to go support those places because you're supporting more than one when you do that. But super cool to hear that they're still, pushing that Head Flyer brand out because obviously we don't ever want to see craft breweries going down.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a bigger thing when breweries were pushing to get into distro. I feel like it's kind of going away a little bit. A lot of breweries are changing to brew pub licenses apparently in Minnesota, which basically means that they can sell their own beer that they brew with food and wine, liquor, like full bar. They just can't distribute. And I think a lot of breweries are finding that they just want to get out of distribution and just do that.
In the state of Minnesota, I think that makes sense. It's pretty surprising to hear that brew pubs can't distro in the state of Minnesota. Obviously,
They can have multiple locations, which is the other thing. In Minnesota, if you're a brewery, a commercial brewery, you can only have one tap room location.
so you kind of have to weigh your options almost when you are opening a brewery in the state of Minnesota. Do you want to be a distro brewery or do you want to be like kind of a mainstay,
Yep.
bring people in, brew pub kind of brewery? Interesting.
Yeah.
If you guys are very new to Minnesota beer laws, you're in for a treat through our podcast because you'll find out a lot of them.
I was going to say, we already gone? We've covered part of it.
Yeah,
And we'll
for
probably
sure.
cover it again.
At some point, for sure. My favorite question to ask you guys: have you guys had any beers since we last got together that have absolutely blown your socks off? Anything you'd rate a 5 on Untapped?
No, because I have cut drinking down to just this podcast. I am on a journey somewhat of losing weight. Uh, I've been counting calories and losing weight. I'm down about 20 pounds since I've started, and it's
Hell yeah.
been a month and a half now at this point.
Proud of
Good
you,
for you.
dude. That's a hard
Yeah,
journey to keep up with.
Yeah.
it fucking is.
I had go figure another great beer from Double Elbow called 33. It's a Czech pale lager. It's supposed to be like Budvar.
The original Budweiser.
Yeah, it's delicious. I did have a great beer, to no surprise, from Double Elbow. One of the better lager. No, you know what? I'm ready to say it. They're the best lager program in the state of Minnesota. And I actually have a can of it right here. 33
Oh, 11 degree.
textile 11-degree pale lager. I did talk to him a little bit about this one. He said it's inspired by Budvar,
I
the
knew
Czech
that's what was about to come
Budweiser,
out.
original Budweiser. Yeah. Um, so pretty cool. And actually, I saw the next one coming out. I don't know if you guys know. I grab a 4-pack of every beer he comes out with, just automatically, no matter what style lager it is, just because they're always good. It's a rice lager, Japanese
Oh,
rice lager.
I love Japanese rice lagers.
it's literally one of
It
my
was
favorite styles.
he's remaking it. It originally was a collab with Single Hill out of Washington. And they were the one brewery that I like when I went to Seattle earlier this year. I brought some of their beer home and they like blew me away. So I'm excited
That's
to
a
try
one
this one.
brewery you grabbed from Seattle?
Not the one. I
Okay,
grabbed
I
a
was
bunch,
like,
but
what?
that was the one that like I didn't know much about them. I had heard of them, but that was pretty much it. And I had some West Coast IPAs from them, and they were
Uh,
very, very good.
for those of you listening that don't partake in craft beer content on social media, or maybe you do, you just don't post it, and you don't know who what's in the fridge Brian is one of the best content creators on all of beer social media. You should go check him out. It's
Yep.
WITF_Brian. He sent me a package a long time ago, and I can't remember what the name of this brewery was, and I'm hoping you can help me. They do a lot of stuff with really intricate colored cans, and then they do this like gold foil for their name. And I want to say it's something like Bane or Break. It's something that starts with a B, and their stuff is next level. I would like to look on my
You
Untapped.
gotta find that. The gold makes me think Gold Dot.
It's not the gold isn't in reference to the brewery. It's just like a thing that this specific brewery does. But anyways, once we find the name of it, you guys outside of what Jack has already referenced, I'm sure this is another brewery he's had. I should have looked the name up before mentioning it, but
Yeah, you should have.
I should have. And that's just like such a me thing to
And it's a
not
rice lager?
they make all things and they're just all so good. Don't get me wrong, like I could go on for days about all the breweries that make good rice lager, but we were talking about more specifically Seattle-based breweries is what I was focused on. If I can find the chat with Brian, I will bring it back up. But
Trying to think. Cloudburst.
Cloudburst is great. Another brewery if you go to the state of Washington that you guys need to check out.
Holy Mountain.
The furthest out west I've ever been is Colorado.
Dude, I want to go to Colorado so bad. Like literally one of my
I
bucket
think that's got to
list
be our next
vacations.
group trip. I think.
What,
I
Great
love
America?
Denver.
No,
We
because it's
could.
outside now.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
want to
know
do
why.
that
Yeah,
bullshit.
because we haven't done an outside beer festival together.
Yeah.
Never.
What's the issue
I
with
prefer
that?
my beer festivals indoors all the time.
No escape for the noise. What are you talking about?
It's a joke.
Oh, okay. I thought you were being serious.
I just want to go to Denver with you guys to go to all the great breweries.
True.
Did I tell you guys about when I
Bale
went to
breaker.
Fort Collins when
Oh,
I was in
Bale
Colorado?
Breaker. Sorry, Cody found it. It was Bale Breaker. No, I haven't had Bale Breaker.
Fun fact for you all listening. I searched Washington breweries that start with B to find.
There
Hey,
you
that
go.
worked.
That
And it
worked.
did. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm sure there's a ton of, like, one of the other breweries that he sent me, he used to send me a ton of. We've traded a handful of times. Is Urban Family, dude.
Yeah.
They do really, really good. I don't, did he send you any of their sour stuff? Their sour
He-
stuff is next level.
Yeah, he sent me I think it was like a dry hopped goza
Yes, that's the
from
same one
them.
he sent me, and it was
Yeah.
phenomenal. Washington beer in general. I think just Pacific West Coast, you can't go wrong with anything that's sent to you from Pacific West Coast.
Well, I mean, the hops got to be the freshest at those breweries.
But which state do you guys honestly think? I know obviously the clear choice is California for Pacific West Coast, but like, it's just West Coast in general because I don't consider them Pacific West Coast. But and I have a lot of say in that I'm from California. What? It's a tough question. What state do you think makes the best beer? I have
How
a hot
much
take
time do
on
you
this.
have? What?
Yeah, right? Like, I mean,
It's a hot
it's
take for
different.
me. It's not California. It's that simple. Does California have a mass influx of breweries? For sure. Do
I
they
think
make
Well,
quality
it's a
beer?
huge
Not
state,
really.
yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
I
what are you
think they
talking
have
about?
the benefit of having a big state. So
You talking
they're
about that they
obviously
don't
doing
make
more.
quality beer? There's tons of
I
good
didn't
breweries.
say all of them do. That's my thing. Is the
Hmm.
you
Colorado, Washington, Oregon.
you consider Colorado Pacific
No,
Northwest?
no, no. Oh, I thought you just meant in general.
Oh, I thought you just meant in general.
Nope. I asked this question because it's a hot take if you have half a brain cell.
You're
Because
Pacific
saying on the West
Northwest.
Coast.
California does not make the best beer on the West Coast, and if you're from California, I'm sorry that you have to hear this, and you have to accept reality. But California does not make the best beer on the West Coast. They have a lot of good breweries. They have a lot of great breweries. Don't get me wrong, but I think when you look at consistency plus quality, I think Washington makes the best beer on the Pacific West Coast. Because when you think Oregon, right? We can sit here and talk about Oregon and how quality their beer is, but how many breweries can you actually name that make quality brew over California and Washington?
Well, they both make beer over
All
California
right. All right.
because
I don't need this.
it's a
I don't
well,
need
Physically.
this. If you are watching via video, via vodcast right now, look at my face.
No, I've visited both Portland and Seattle.
Oh, brag
Honestly,
about
they
it.
were both like very neck and neck to me, but they were both very good. I think a lot of it also depends on what styles you put more stock into.
Yeah, you can go beyond Portland. Um, Grains of Wrath is not in Portland. I don't think they're close to Portland. I actually think they're closer to California than they are to Portland. They make some of the best West Coast IPA in the entire country. That's not a fact, or that's not a opinion. That's a fact. Have fun fact
I
checking
agree.
me. Um,
I don't think I've had anything from them.
I've only had one can, and it was. I think the beer was called
Nope. Panopticon.
Panopticon, which
Because Cody
one
told me that, and then they had it in Seattle, so I bought 2 cans. So I've actually had more of it than Cody has because I've had 2 cans of Panopticon. But yeah, that beer is really good. If I go back, I gotta try more of their stuff.
Lucas, if you ever, I don't know how much you like West Coast IPA, but if you ever
There's
get a
only
craving.
I love West Coast IPAs.
Well, I don't
There's
know,
only
because you also love
really
Kolsch, which is like niche. I'm not judging you because I love Kolsch, but like you don't meet a lot of people who love Fair State cold more than you, right? Like,
I would say that's correct, but that's also a very affordable large packaged beer. That's really good. So like I can sit in the hot tub with my good buddy Nate, and we can each crush a 12 pack of those and still
I
be
fe
fine the rest of the day.
I fear that we need to put the picture up from the day that
Hey,
happened
we
while you're
absolutely
You don't
sitting.
can.
need to do that.
It's
Post at
my
it.
I think it's my banner on Untapped. Like I'm not even
It's
It is
somewhere.
quite literally both yours and Nate's pictures in my phone.
as it should be. As it should be. It's a great picture.
But yeah.
Lucas, are there a bunch of like Kolsch nights in Ohio? Is that a thing that's catching on?
What?
Or like Kolsch, like traditional Kolsch service?
Yeah,
Do you
No.
not know what that is?
his craft beer society is far behind yours and I's.
Okay, so when you go to Köln and drink beer, it's always traditionally Kolsch. And they carry around like a huge tray with a bunch of, what are they, probably 8-ounce glasses of Kolsch. And if your glass is empty, they just replace it automatically. And then they mark on your coaster how many you've had. And then when you're
Mm,
done, you flip your coaster over so they don't replace it. And then you just pay for how many notches you have.
That
But it's
sounds
only
great.
Kolsch.
but that sounds
So
awesome.
yeah, a lot of places in Minnesota have been like picking that up, either doing it like with, they'll do it like one night a month or something on like a Monday. Or if you sit at the bar or something, you pay like a flat amount and you just drink as much Kolsch as you want. And then you're done.
As
I
far as
didn't
I
know if
know,
that was just
we've
here
never.
or like, I don't
Did
know, Cody, is that a thing in Illinois anywhere?
wait. Did you just explain that if you sit at the bar, you get a Kolsch buffet,
Basically,
essentially?
yeah.
Yeah,
You
that could
play one.
also. I mean, both of you live in blue states. I live in a red state. That could be violating some puritanical alcohol law that we have
Cat
here because Ohio has some outdated
Maybe.
alcohol laws.
guy woke up with the political gene today. See, red
No, no,
state, blue state has nothing
I'm
to
being
do with.
honest.
No,
Absolutely, it does. When it comes
no,
to
it
alcohol
doesn't because
laws,
your alcohol laws are looser than Jack's.
that's okay. Jack, can you go into a liquor store in I don't know where you live in the Twin Cities area, right? Uh, am I allowed to say that without doxing you?
Yeah. Yes.
It's
Okay.
like 900,000 people. They have to
But can you go
try
buy
and figure.
alcohol anywhere on a Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you can't do that in
That's
Ohio.
that's not abnormal, bro. When I
That
first
that
met
did
Jack,
change not that long ago.
yeah, when I
Oh,
first met Jack, bro, I couldn't even buy a 4 pack from the brewery.
yeah, but that has
Why is it,
changed.
this isn't a competition?
Yeah, I don't know. It
Kind of
absolutely has
is.
to
We
do
should
with
want freer laws everywhere,
yeah.
guys. What
Well, yeah, I agree, but
Cody's? Oh well, when I met Jack, he couldn't buy a 4-pack.
no, I couldn't buy a 4.
You
And I
well,
was
I couldn't
living
either,
about
but
that. I
yeah,
wanted a 4 pack of Fugazi, bro. Although I'm kind of happy I didn't. Love you, Black
But that
Stack,
was
but that beer
also.
sucks.
But were you buying that at a liquor store? Or were you buying that at the brewery itself?
No, I was buying it. I literally had to take home a crowler of fucking
But
Fugazi.
that's at the brewery itself. I'm talking about going to like
Yeah.
uh, that's that's the state being able to
Wait, wait,
control.
wait, 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 wait. You guys can't buy beer on Sundays or alcohol on Sundays?
It depends on where you go. I can't go into it's not like on Sunday, the brewery I work at is
Yes.
open 7 days a week. But if I like yesterday I was Uber driving to make a couple of extra bucks because I've got a music festival coming up this week. Um And one of my orders was going to a CVS to buy a 4 pack of Cutwater. That's what the entire order was, but it was on a Sunday. And I walked in there and I was like, I'm trying to purchase this for Uber. And they're like, we can't sell it to you because we can't sell alcohol on Sundays.
Want to know what the difference is there? I can never buy any alcohol at a CVS or a grocery store or convenience stores. It's always specifically liquor stores.
You can't buy beer at a grocery store in Minnesota?
You can, but it has to be 3.4 or 3.2. It has to
What?
be under a certain percentage. Yeah, 3.4%.
I told
Yeah.
you, bro.
And
Liquor laws.
but yeah, liquor laws are crazy because they're based on like
They're all
1800s
old.
puritanical
Yeah, they're all
law.
old. And then lawmakers just don't. It's not a priority.
It's not a
Which,
priority
honestly,
to them.
fair enough.
And
But
then,
also,
not to be on my political high horse, but when a certain party brings it up, and then the other party's like, well, we got to keep the conservative people happy. Let's not make alcohol the priority. That's all it is.
well, anyway, I guess that was just a roundabout way to say you should see if any breweries are doing Kolsch night or Kolsch service near you. Maybe you just don't realize it,
I live
but you
in
love
the
it.
capital area of Columbus. I work in the beer industry. I'm in a Discord group with the majority of the brewers in this area.
Do it at Crooked Can.
I would,
Do you
but
have a Kolsch?
we have a cold. It's my favorite beer that we make.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think we can do a
you should
culture.
float
I
it.
don't think we can't do a beer buffet. That's
No, you don't. You don't have to do it that way. You can also do it just however many 8-ounce glasses you drink, and just say it's like $2 or $3 for
oh
each
well, we
one.
don't have 8-ounce glasses.
Well, you could get some.
Oh, okay. So you want my brewery to spend money? Okay, no, that's
Yes.
cool.
What what you're gonna make is tenfold. It's just gonna be you and the other brewers after
You
your
mean
shift.
me and one other guy?
Yeah, just enjoying Kolsch.
In other news, do you guys have any other big things coming up? I figured we would
No, the big thing we have coming up is we're having our first guest on Foamies with Homies,
love that for you. How about you,
and
Jack?
Lucas will
and
learn the name soon, I hope.
now Jack's frozen.
No, I'm good now.
No,
No,
you're oh, there he
there you
is.
are. There you are.
Jack, do you have any beer events exciting coming up near you?
No, not really. I'm waiting on another Taver box.
Yeah, me too. We're waiting on the same fucking box.
It's
We
those
both
RAR
look.
Star Wars beers.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. I was high on the Tavor, and I'm trying not to let this one bad experience bring it down for me because I enjoy it. I enjoy this service that allows me to try beers that I normally wouldn't get to try. And I don't do it every month, but I'll be like, oh, let me add this here. Oh, oh, add this one. I'll add this one. But they're telling me, they advertised that we were going to get the 6-pack in time for May the 4th. It is now the 11th. When I asked them, they said it was because the brewery had such a large number of orders. And to that, I say bullshit.
That's not your problem. That should have been your response. Love you, Tavor. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoy the fact that they have produced a product that gives people the ability to get their hands on beer that is very rare, but in the same vein,
We
when
have
you
not gone an episode without talking about
Lucas
this
is
company.
Lucas is a lot more bent up about it than I am.
I absolutely am. Well, don't advertise it to say it's going to be here by the 4th, especially when you're, like Jack, you're way more active on TikTok than I am. Think about it like if you're a quote unquote content creator, you're trying to get these hype beers out, you're trying to be relevant, and then oh, okay, yeah, I guess I'll upload these for May the 13th.
Yeah, now my hype content is delayed.
yeah, what the heck,
Damn.
Tavor? I'm just kidding. I don't know. I've never ordered beer from you. Don't hate me. Um,
All right.
But
Well,
hey,
yeah.
Cody, who's our guest that's going to be joining us here in a couple of minutes?
I will announce who the guest is when the guest hops on. All right, guys. So tonight we're joined by Marty Nachel, a man who has spent the last 4 decades deep in the world of craft beer. He's everything from an author to an internationally credentialed beer judge to a beer educator. And truthfully, I couldn't be more honored than having him with us tonight. So, Marty, if you just want to dive deeper into your background, what you've been able to accomplish, and what you do currently, then I think our fans will really enjoy that.
Starting at the beginning.
Yeah, wherever you want to start.
First, I'd like to say thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate this. I'm looking forward to the next hour of chat. As far as how I got into stuff, we're going back into the early mid '80s, and so I got a lot of ground to cover. I'll make it quick and painless. I started getting into beer at about 1983, 4, something like that. And that's when a lot of the early craft breweries were just coming online. And when I first started learning about them, that's when I thought there's something to this. I got to check it out. So I started brewing my own beer in 85. In 86, I took the BJCP test. I was one of the first 70 people in the world to pass it, the first person in the state of Illinois. From there, I started writing as a freelancer to the very few magazines that existed back then, or beer-dedicated magazines anyway. And eventually, I just continued freelancing. Eventually, that led to some book contracts. I did Beer Across America in 95, Beer for Dummies in 96, Homebrewing for Dummies in 97. And those books have since gone on to a second edition and third edition. In 2010, I started judging at the Great American Beer Festival. By 2017, I started judging internationally. So yeah, that's most of it. I was also doing beer education along the line. From 2015 to 2023, I was teaching at a local college. It was a College of DuPage here in the Chicago area. But unfortunately, that program has gone away. Unfortunately, yeah. So here we are.
A very storied past. Truthfully, it seems you've been able to accomplish quite a bit in your life. And again, right, for those of you listening, this is why I said I'm very honored to have you on our podcast tonight, knowing that you've been able to accomplish so much. But following that up, obviously, like you mentioned, you've written a handful of books, you've judged a handful of continents, you've taught at the collegiate level. At what point did it kind of hit you that you felt this industry needed some sort of Hall of Fame, right? At what point did you go, wow, I feel like people need to be honored in what I really, really love?
Back in 2023, I don't even remember what brought it into my head, but I was just thinking about, hey, I wonder if there is a Hall of Fame, because I'd never heard of one. Mm-hmm. Had no idea if there was one or wasn't. I kind of assumed there was something somewhere, but I did all kinds of Google searches and they kept on coming back empty. And I was really dumbfounded by that because I thought this is a travesty. Here we are 40 some odd years into the American craft beer industry and nothing for these folks who started it. And so shortly thereafter, in early 2024, I gathered a bunch of names of people in the industry, contacts I had, and I basically, drew them a quick outline of what I thought a Hall of Fame should look like. And I said, what do you think? Give me some feedback, help me guide this thing with the hopes that somebody would step up and say, hey, I can do that, or I know somebody who can do that. It didn't happen that way. It was like, you have fun with that. So I realized at some point after a couple of months that if this was going to get done, I had to be the one to do it. So, in the spring of 24, I incorporated as a not-for-profit in the state of Illinois. And by the end of the fall of 24, we had done our first election, although the elections were not announced until February of 25. February is now, it's on our calendar as the month that we announced the new inductees for the new year. So we've had 2 inductions thus far in 25 and 26 for a total of 20 people in the hall currently.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, in 2025, there were some notable names for the inaugural class. Ken Grossman from Sierra Nevada. You have Burt Grant from Yakima, and a handful of others. This is kind of what drove us to want to know more about the Craft Beer Hall of Fame, was what really goes into selecting each class. How do you and the board look at the process and decide, hey, this is who deserves it in 2025 or 2026?
Yeah, I've got a little story to tell you kind of at the end. Right now, just to give you an idea of the structure of the hall, we have 5 people on the board of directors. In addition to them, those folks that I mentioned a little while ago that I contacted, many of those people became what we now call our advisory board. We have about 45 people on the advisory board, and they're the ones who give us our best feedback on what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what we should do, what we shouldn't do, and so on. But they are also the people from whom we solicit nominations. Now, for that story, the funny story that goes along with this, in 2025, we were all kind of naive. We were all new. We were still kind of figuring out the way to do things properly. And we basically just said, okay, you guys, you're the advisors, give us the people you think who should be nominated, thinking that these people would all be pretty much on the same level. Well, we found out the hard way they weren't. We got 72 nominations from our advisory board, 72 unique names, and that's just a huge number. Yeah. We couldn't work with that, so we had to kind of work our way backwards and say, okay, let's winnow this number down a little bit, and let's see if we can't agree more on some central figures like Ken Grossman, like Fritz Maytag, like Jim Cook. And so, we learned from our mistakes. This year, we had to put in place a couple of parameters by which the nominees are put forward. And to make this more clear, what we found was that our advisors who are across the country, we saw a lot of regionalism. If an advisor was from the Northeast, almost all of his nominees were from the Northeast. If an advisor was from California, most of his nominees were either from California or at least the West Coast. So it was very obvious that there was regionalism going on. And we had to kind of break through that. So we had to set up these parameters that now say, okay, any person you put forth as a nominee, they have to have nationwide effect. Whatever contributions or achievements they made had to have been made for the good of the entire country, not just your state or your region. So now we're getting better returns from our advisors. I think they're understanding better what we're looking for. And so gathering the names of the nominees is not as difficult as it was the first year around. We're getting better. We're getting better.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose when you have 40 years without anything like this, like you said, you had 72 unique names. You have a large pool to pick from of people that have made an impact. So you're probably working through those first, and then it'll get interesting after that, probably. Are you paying attention to things that are happening now and like putting tags on people that you feel like maybe in the future are going to maybe end up there in the class of 2042 or something like that?
Yeah, believe me, I am paying attention to the best of my ability. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
But you brought up a very good point. We are, because we have, it's actually close to 50 years now that the very first what was then called a microbrewery, opened up in 1976. So we are approaching that 50th year anniversary of New Albion, which is the first one opened up in Sonoma, California in 76. So yes, we have 50 years worth of people we need to catch up on.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we've got a little ways to go before we get to people who are, let's say the hottest commodities in craft beer today. They're going to have to be patient.
Oh man. Incredible. So I'm curious, we talked a little bit about this prior to recording this pod, but I noticed that you also have the Landmark Craft Beers as one of the things on your website, and I'm curious, I kind of talked on Sierra Nevada Pale Ale being one of the pinnacles in my specific craft beer journey, and kind of taking me down the path of what I love now. And I'm curious, tell us about that and the first 5 beers that made the cut. It's similar to obviously those 2025 and 2026 inductees. How did you decide that the first 5 Landmark craft beers were the craft beers that you wanted to highlight?
Thank you for bringing that up, by the way, because I have a tendency to think too much about the people and not enough about the other initiative we have, which is Landmark Beers. Yes. We realized that the hall, even though the primary objective of the hall is to recognize people, that said, we also have to acknowledge beers. I mean, what are we all into this for because of the beer? So we had to acknowledge the beers that have had an effect on the craft beer industry also over the past 50 years. So like we did for the people, the nominees, we also went back to our advisors and said, okay, now give us your list of those beers that you consider landmark beers, the ones who have had the most effect on this industry for the past 50 odd years. And so most of the picks were pretty easy. Like you mentioned, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. I'd be willing to bet that that's on everybody's list of the top 5. It'd be hard not to acknowledge that. And Anchor Steam is another one. But it did get a little bit more difficult because there were so many of those early beers, some of which are still around today, some of which have gone by the wayside over the years. They're no longer, the brewery is no longer in existence, and the beers are long gone. The label was never kept alive. So when we finally arrived on the 5, we're very happy with the 5 that we chose. But it's going to be difficult again in 2026 to come up with another 5 deserving beers. And when I say tough to come up with, there's so many of them. That part's going to be easy. Winnowing them down to specifically 5 is going to be difficult. As far as I didn't name all 5, and I'm probably going to forget 1 or 2 of them. Anchor Steam is on there. Sierra Nevada Pale Ale is on there. Celis White is on there, which I was very happy about. You guys help me out here. Who am I forgetting?
Boston Lager, Liberty Ale.
Liberty Ale. Yeah.
Yep. So
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I hope we find some agreement on those 5.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you won't find much argument from me. As I said, Pale Ale Sierra Nevada Pale Ale specifically was one of the big drivers of my craft beer career. And I'm curious, do you have any that aren't on this list that you feel will be on this list at some point, or you specifically yourself feel you would attribute to this list? Beers that really got you down the path of where you are now.
Well, those 5 actually had a very big effect on me. A lot of those good early beers never made it to the Chicago market. So some of them I've had, some of them I've not been able to have. So it's kind of hard to say. But to answer your question about which ones I foresee being in there in the future, drawing a blank here. Goose Island, Bourbon County.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
That's got to be
Sure.
on
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
That's got to
Yes,
be
it
on there.
does.
Yeah.
It
I'm
does
assuming
indeed.
it's going to make it in 26. I can't say for sure because I don't, you know, I'm not the king. I don't make those rules. It's
You
going to be
don't
up
get a
to
veto every year.
what?
You don't get a veto every
Yeah.
year where you can push one
No,
through that you feel
no,
strongly about.
nope. I'm one of 100 people who do the voting, so I have 1% of the vote.
All right.
Yeah, so I funny enough created based on a specific social media trend. I decided to try my hand at what was craft beer like in the 90s. You may have seen it, you may have not. That's okay. One of the ones one of the ones I mentioned was Magic Hats number 9, which seemed to be quite prevalent to quite a few people who've been around in craft beer for quite some time. Do you have a feeling one way or another about Magic Hat number 9? I know you've been around since the beginning, so I'm curious what your specific take on that beer is and where it falls in terms of the craft beer trajectory.
Sounds like somebody's doing some campaigning.
Yeah.
I am not indeed. I can promise you that. I'm just
Looking
curious.
ahead a few years, planting the seed.
What if
Yeah.
Mr. Jefferson had something to say about that?
Right.
I consider myself fortunate enough having tasted that beer. Not often because sometimes it was in the market, sometimes it wasn't, kind of spotty. But I do remember enjoying it. It was a unique beer for the time. And I do know that it had a very big following, especially in the Northeast. So I can foresee sometime in the next 2 or maybe 3 years, it's likely to be on the landmark beers list. Yeah, I can see that happening.
Perfect. I was just curious, right?
Yep.
Obviously, I'm more of a new age guy myself, so it's always nice to pick the brain of somebody who's been around since the beginning and kind of understands the what truly paved the way for craft beer. But beyond that, the one big thing from doing my research I noticed is that obviously the Hall of Fame lives online right now.
Mhm.
And it's fairly new, and maybe you don't really have an answer to this, but at some point in time, do you plan on trying to curate a physical location where people can like travel and visit what truly made craft beer what it is?
You know, I get really excited when I have the opportunity to talk about this. Not that I have any announcement to make. I wish I did, but this is what we consider our dream. Um, it is part of our long range plans. We would really, really like to see that happen. Um, but we're also very realistic. As you mentioned, we're fairly new. We're only 2 years into this project. We expect that it's going to take several more to continue growing this and, getting the hall known to people, getting the interest level up to what we need it to be, and, opening up a brick and mortar location somewhere, wherever that is, it's going to take some dollars. And we, as this entity, as the hall, we certainly don't have that now. It's going to take some deep pocket sponsors to make that happen.
Mhm.
But like I said, it's something we are keeping on our radar. It's way at the edge of the radar, but it's on there. Um, I would like to say that Chicago is among the locations that's, places that have been talked about. Chicago, Grand Rapids, Asheville, Denver, there's San Francisco, who knows? There's a lot of good cities where this could end up, but the fact that I live near Chicago, there's veto power for you.
Yeah.
Columbus.
I do have another funny story to go along with that. This dates back to last fall, somewhere around October. I got an interesting email. This person was representing a development in, of all places, Anchorage, Alaska. He told me that this new company or companies with apparently very deep pockets, they were doing a reconstruction in downtown Anchorage, and it was like a 2-block square. It was this huge, unbelievably inclusive uh, retail center that they were going to make, and they were looking for other businesses or organizations to take up space within this thing that they were putting together. And he was trying to sell me on the idea of putting the Hall of Fame up there in Anchorage. And I said, well, we will certainly consider any offer. Let's, put it on paper, send me the prospectus. We will look it over. And well, that's as far as it went. We never got the prospectus.
Never heard back.
Never heard back. I'm not sure what he was looking for, but apparently we weren't it.
So there you go. It could have been in Anchorage.
I mean, that's driving distance from all of us. So, I mean,
That's true.
Everybody's
Might have a
passport
few less
ready.
visitors.
What are y'all drinking?
Oh man, I was drinking a Denim Tux. This is an American Pilsner with blue corn from Bow and Arrow Brewing Company out of, I believe they're from Albuquerque, New Mexico, which, believe it or not, I texted Jack earlier this week when I got it, and I told him, I was like, I am very excited that I finally get to try craft beer out of New Mexico, because it is one of the few states in the U.S. I have not been able to buy any craft beer from. So,
And I'm curious how you get your hands on that.
Believe it or not, our local bottle shop had it in
Really?
Rockford. Yeah. I went in there tonight and I asked the individual who owns it how he gets his hands on this stuff, and he wouldn't bother to tell me his secrets. So
Not surprising.
yeah, I just have to assume that they are in very good with their distributor. But yeah, Bow and Arrow Brewing Company, American Pilsner with blue corn, phenomenal. Has a nice deep bready profile with a little bit of hop bitterness rounding that out. So it's great.
Sounds delicious.
Oh yes.
And Marty, I know you told me before we started recording, but what are you drinking?
Well, because it just came back out, I had to pull up some Firestone Walker double barrel ale.
Very nice.
She's a beaut.
That looks nice. I am having a double elbow 33. We talked about this a little bit before you came on, Marty. Double elbow, one of the better or probably best lager programs in Minnesota, in my opinion.
Nice.
He just won a bronze medal at World Beer Cup for the Pilsner category. Wow. You might have been judging. I don't know.
Not this year. I actually took this year off. Yeah, that's quite an achievement for that in that particular category, certainly.
Yeah, and he's only been doing it. Well, he's been brewing for a while. He used to brew at Live Oak, and
yeah, I was gonna say
was at Fair State for a while, but yeah, it's just a little lager program out of another brewery called Little Thistle in Rochester, Minnesota. But Nico Tonks, yeah, he's making great beer, great lager.
Well, congratulations to him.
And I'm having,
because I get to drink his beer. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm having Lift Ticket from the Workforce out of Plainfield, Illinois.
Oh yes, Workforce is a great program. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how I got this beer. No, I reached into my fridge and I was like, I don't even remember getting this beer. I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it was Tavor or I picked it up at my local bottle shop. I do not know how this ended up here, but it's very good beer.
Probably Tavor. They're on Tavor. I see them.
Brandon does a great job out there at Workforce, and he's actually won a World Beer Cup award previously as well, along with Great American Beer Festival awards. Yeah. So which exact beer style was it? I didn't catch it.
Oh, it's a dry hopped oat pilsner.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
Love an oak beer.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Workforce is a brewery I feel like in Illinois that is highly slept upon. I think they put out a phenomenal product no matter what they do, and they don't often get distroed. So when you said that, Lucas, I was quite surprised that you had them.
I,
I was like, wait, is that the same
I
as like the Workforce that I know about?
yeah, I honestly, I reached in my fridge and I was like, all right, this sounds good. Didn't even see where it was from until we started discussing where our beer was from.
Yes, plain Workforce makes they make great IPA, they make great lager, they make phenomenal stout as well.
Oh
They do
yeah,
just a great job all the way around,
a lot of
truthfully.
barrel aged stuff too.
Yep.
Yeah, stout's more what they're known for, right?
Yeah.
Um, is it Fat Bear?
Is that what Workforce does? Is their bear series with like Hell
Oh,
Bear?
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
so.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a bear series. Yeah. Phenomenal stuff all the way around. They're very exploratory with that series. I know they did Hell Bear where they introduced I think it was like Carolina Reaper and habanero into there. Yeah, they as you know, they have some fun up there in Plainfield. So great brewery. For those listening, if you can get your hands on Workforce, another brewery you guys absolutely need to try.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
yes. So yeah, so I guess my question to you now is what are the plans in 2027? You know, obviously we got the 2026 list. I know you and I are friends on Facebook. You may
Mhm.
have or you may have not seen it, but I have an absolute love for Garrett Oliver. He is truthfully one of the people I attribute to me getting into craft beer. I watch a lot of his stuff on YouTube. One of the greatest minds in all of craft beer. What drove your decision this year for not only him, but all of the wonderful women and men who made this year's list? I know you kind of spoke on it with just selecting the group in general, but what specifically for 2026 drove you and the board to select this specific list?
Well, keep in mind that it's our advisors who put forth the nominations.
Yes.
So when we winnowed the list from all the nominations that came in, when we winnowed the list down to the top, let's say 20 or so, that's when we put the ballot back out to our advisors and electors, by the way. Um, they're the ones who literally voted all those folks in. So again, I don't have that much influence. The board doesn't have that much influence. We are, like I said, I am one vote among 100, and that goes for my fellow board members and everybody else. So it's a matter of the system working. I mean, I like to think that that's the reason why Garrett Oliver and Sam Calagione and Larry Bell and all those others, the reason why they got in this year is because the system worked. The advisors nominated them, and we as a body elected them. So there you go.
Yeah,
I'm
and go ahead, Jack.
That's all right. Well, if you're gonna keep on that subject, I was gonna change subject.
Yeah, go for it. No,
I'm
you're fine.
curious, Marty, do the inductees get like a special item? Do they get like a gold jacket or maybe like a golden tulip glass or something like that?
Well, this is what is made by one of our sponsors, AJS Hankscraft.
That's
They
Nice.
awesome.
they're tap handle makers, so they're the ones who do our trophies. This was from 2025. You can see the name on there is Michael Jackson,
Yeah.
the British beer writer,
Yep.
backwards of course. And so yeah, it's it's acrylic, see through, and it's got the logo up there and the year. The reason why I still have this in my hands is because Michael Jackson never married, never had children. We have been unable to find any living relatives
Oh
to get
wow.
this
Oh my
trophy.
gosh.
But to answer your question, this is what they get. Along with that, of course, a certificate, suitable for
Yeah.
framing. So yes.
Cool. Has anybody installed one of those tap handles in their tap room if they still have one, like Sam or Garrett?
Oh, I totally would.
That would be funny. I've never heard of
They
such a
should.
thing, but I would love to see a picture of that. That would make my day.
Hey, listen, if you got it, you might as well show it off.
Sure, absolutely.
I would tell everybody about it.
Yeah. One thing I am curious about, Marty, obviously you do a lot of judging for pretty large competitions, World Beer Cup, Great American Beer Festival. I'm kind of curious what that process looks like, and like what the experience is for you as a judge for such a large event. And just, generally getting to be a part of that from that side of things.
Well, I don't know how familiar you guys are with those two competitions. Those happen to be the two largest competitions in the world, not just the United States, but the world. Great American Beer Festival typically gets in the mid 9,000, 9,500. World Beer Cup, I think, was approaching 10,000 a couple of years ago. The difference is Great American Beer Festival is only open to breweries in the United States, of course.
Yep.
And World Beer Cup is open to breweries from around the world. So that does tend to get a greater number of entries. The Great American Beer Festival, as far as, for that number of beers, you need a very large number of judges, typically in the vicinity of 250 judges to get that done in a matter of 3 days. So, that's a tall order. As far as the World Beer Cup, this is a little bit more complicated. They actually do it in 2 phases. One phase takes place at the BA, the Brewers Association warehouse out in Colorado. That's phase 1, where they, try to take all these huge categories and winnow them down to, smaller numbers.
Yeah.
The other thing is they need more judges. So there's usually about 275 to 300 judges. And if that's not complicated enough, at least half of those come from foreign countries. The Brewers Association works very hard in inviting foreign judges from other countries because they don't want this to be strictly American palates doing this. They want palates from other countries who know what a Grodziskia should taste like, or what a true Pilsner or Kel tastes like, or Czech Pils. So they want people who are familiar with these beers because they're local to them in their home countries. So they bring them here to the United States to do the final judging for World Beer Cup. And so from my perspective, it's very easy for me to get into Great American Beer Festival judging because I'm in the majority, being an American, being local. When it comes to World Beer Cup, I'm in the minority. There are fewer American judges than there are international. So whether or not I get invited to judge is kind of a lottery. And also it's a lottery. Am I going to be at phase 1 in Colorado, or am I going to be at phase 2 at some other, wherever the CBC is being held? This year it was in Philadelphia. Last year was Indianapolis. The year before that was Minneapolis.
Yep.
So, yeah. So I don't know if I answered all of your question. I know there was a couple of parts of the question.
Yeah, because like from our perspective, right, we just see kind of the festival side, and then all of a sudden you see a list of breweries that won, gold, silver, bronze, and all these different categories. So we're always just skimming a PDF looking for breweries that we know or from our state, things like that. So that is interesting to know. For like Great American Beer Festival, where you're one of the 250. Obviously, not all the 250 get to taste every single beer category. Do you get to like say, hey, here's like the 5 that I'm interested in tasting? Or do you ever get stuck with a beer style that isn't your favorite? And you have to judge it?
No, see, the BA does do something that's very commendable, because I know it just adds to their problems. About a month prior to the competition, they send out a form to every judge that basically has all the categories on that sheet of paper. It's electronic, it's email. And it's all the categories, and you check the boxes for which ones you do want to do and those you don't want to do, and the ones you feel ambivalent about. They actually have a numbering system: 1 if you like it, 7 if you hate it, and 4 if you're kind of, wishy-washy on it, you don't care. And so we fill those out in the hopes that we will get our favorite categories, but there is absolutely no guarantee whatsoever. We may end up with a couple of our favorites. We may end up doing a couple of categories that we really don't like. But that's a part of being a professional beer judge. You judge the style regardless of whether you like it or not, because your opinion doesn't matter. I mean that literally. Right. If I don't like a particular beer style, that's tough titties. I got to judge it anyway. So, and I have to do it professionally. So that's how it goes.
So for you, which ones are you typically gunning for, and which ones are you hoping you don't get?
No, that's a great question.
I'm curious, like somebody, because like you said, you have to judge it just very subjectively, but obviously I'm sure you have beer styles that you gravitate towards and don't care for as much. So
yeah, actually, I'm just going to make a real quick correction here. We don't judge subjectively. That's actually wrong. We judge objectively.
Yes.
There's a big difference there. But anyway, back to the question. In the earlier days, when I first started judging, I thought, oh, how cool. I love IPAs, so I'm going to ask to do the IPA category. Well, that backfires on you quickly, because you guys all know that IPAs are pretty tough on the palate. And when you have to do a flight or two flights of 12 beers, all IPAs, your palate wears out pretty quickly. So I learned over time, don't do that. IPA is a category that I ask not to judge. Doppelbock, even though I love Doppelbocks, I do not like judging that category, because the range of Doppelbock flavors is so small, it's so narrow, that you end up with a bunch of beers that taste pretty damn identical. And it's very, very tough to judge. Same with Scotch Ale, which is another category I love. I don't like judging them. So the opposite side of the coin, which ones do I like? I love anything historical. I love anything experimental. I love coffee beers. I like low ABV oak age beers. So yeah, I do those categories where it's not tough on my palate.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, jumping in here, obviously Jackass, what categories don't you like? Him and I had the opportunity during a bottle share earlier in February to try a flavor profile that I personally have never tried. Maybe Jack has, but it's Amburana. And I'm curious, what specific flavor profile have you tried, American or non-American, that really blew your mind as to the adjunct that was in it, right? Obviously for us, it was Amburana. I'm curious what it was for you. Like, which one of those blew your mind?
Interesting you brought that up, because Amburana is a very, very interesting. Like I said, I love wood-inflected beers. And the first time I tasted an Amburana wood beer, that was just really interesting. The cinnamon character that comes out of that Amburana wood is unbelievable. But anyway, back to your question. One of the most interesting competitions I ever judged was actually in Blumenau, Brazil. Now, you guys know the category called Catarina Sour?
I can't say that I personally.
No, I don't think I do.
Okay. It's a relatively new category. I think it's been in use here in the United States for maybe 3 years. I'm not sure. Okay. But it's been in use in Brazil for longer, because that style was actually invented in Brazil. Think of a Berliner Weiss. Okay. It's a lighter bodied, lower alcohol, lightly sour beer. Okay. Get that idea in your head. Now add fruit flavors to that beer. That's essentially what a Catarina Sour is. And the interesting thing about this is, because I was judging in Brazil, Brazil has a whole ton of fruits that we do not have in the United States. They're not grown here. They're not imported here. So I was being asked to taste a bunch of beers that were infused with fruits that I had never tasted in my life.
Oh, wow.
So I was judging with a couple of Brazilian judges. I actually had to ask them what I was supposed to expect from this particular fruit or that particular fruit. I was relying on them. I was relying on the stewards. They had to tell me what to expect from the flavors of these fruits. that was very different for me as a judge, but interesting as hell. I loved it. And I really do wish I could get those beers here because they're phenomenal.
Yeah. I suppose you can really probably only relate it to fruits that you know.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
you're like, yeah, it tastes like orange. And they're like, well, it's not orange. It's, this other fruit.
right.
They
Or
probably had to keep correcting you.
yeah, or it's a combination of cherry and peach. And it's like,
Yeah.
how do I wrap my head around that?
Uh,
Yeah, it was different.
Huh.
Great question though.
Yeah, so I'm hoping first and foremost that style, and I'm sure it will at some point find its way over to America, as most styles do. But I'm curious. Obviously, we've talked about a lot regarding the Craft Beer Hall of Fame, your personal background. You've had the opportunity to write about and judge alongside so many people who built the industry that we know and love. Is there anyone who most of us don't know? Maybe someone you personally built a relationship with who you feel deserves more recognition. Maybe a specific brewery as a whole who the mass majority of craft beer lovers should keep their eye on in 2026 that you've had the pleasure of trying.
Another good question, and this is the kind that I would like to do a little homework on because a bunch of different things are going through my head. One of the first breweries that pops into my head is one that they opened up in 1987, and because it was in Milwaukee, just 2 hours up the road, me and a couple of friends would go up there on a regular basis, at least 4 times a year or so. And so anyway, it's called Lakefront. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Lakefront Brewery.
Yes.
The two brothers who started it, Rush and Jim Klisch, are still the owners to this day, still innovating, still making great beers. They've won a bunch of awards over the years. I think they've been flying under the radar for 30 years now, whatever it is. I think they don't get the kudos that they deserve. Another one that pops into my head is Sun King down in Indianapolis.
Yep.
They've been around for quite a while. I don't know exactly when they opened, but Dave Colt and his partner, they do a great job down there. Make excellent beers. They've won plenty of awards, but I think they're flying under most people's radar. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are so many more that I'm not thinking of right now, but yeah.
Yeah, so when fall rolls around, River West Stein, one of my favorite beers to sip on, obviously a darker style beer, amber lager specifically. I find it a lot at like our Chris Kindle markets or whatever whatever you call them, but yeah, one of my favorites. Obviously I don't live too far from the Milwaukee location, so I can't emphasize enough, first and foremost, if you drive past this brewery, one of the prettiest places on the place of the earth to go visit if you're a craft beer enjoyer, but also somebody who consistently puts out quality beer, no matter what style they brew. So it's always fun to hear you list off specifically Lakefront, not being too far from me. So super cool to hear. Just curious, what are your thoughts in terms of where craft beer is going in 2026, 2027, or your thoughts on where you would like it to be in 2026, 2027?
You mean if I wave my magic wand?
Yeah, if you make it happen in your own eyes, right?
Well, I think the bad comes before the good. I don't think we've seen rock bottom yet. And maybe that's a poor choice of term. I don't think we're ever going to hit rock bottom. No pun intended either. I think we are going to continue to see some more closures. But by the way, guys, last year, 2025, I don't know if you saw the stats. There were 460 or 90 closures, but there were 310-ish openings. So that's not bad, all things considered. We continue to get people to open up breweries, so I think that's a positive sign. And many of the breweries that closed probably deserve to close for a number of reasons, either being poorly financed, poorly run, making crappy beer, whatever the case may be. You know, those kinds of places usually win, or they get themselves out of the game. But yeah, the fact that breweries continue to open, I think we will see that throughout 26. I do expect there to be a resurgence, but I think I'm going to hedge my bets right now and say that a lot of that is based on the economy. If the economy turns around, I think we're going to see a jump in brewery openings again. Unfortunately, with the economy as it is, with gas prices as they are, it's going to continue hitting the market pretty hard, and that doesn't bode well for breweries. But for 27, 28, I'm seeing things going back up again, and we're probably never going to be where we were a couple of years ago.
No, yeah.
But I think the craft brewing market is going to be on solid ground. I think the people who are currently in the market and are currently and will be opening up, there are so many mistakes they can learn from, and hopefully they won't make them. So when they come in, they can hit the ground running and be a force in the industry. Let's hope.
Yeah.
That is a great way to put it. I think, for those of you who have never listened to our podcast, I'm a business major, and I think the thing for me is that market saturation is needed in every single market. And I think those who have found a way to not only adapt, but create their own brand in, 2026 or earlier, will stay around. And like you said, right, those who make maybe not so solid beer or average beer at best, they found their way to closure. And I'm in agreement, right? I do a lot of data digging. That's kind of my specialty, and I love that you mentioned the kind of counter to this panic that craft beer is crashing, right? Because I think that's kind of what a lot of people who don't dig into stats feel. Yeah, when you look at the overall over under on craft beers opening closing, it's a lot. The margin is more equal than it has been in a long time, and I think those who have found a way to prevail will continue to prevail. And those who, I kind of talked to Jack and Lucas about this in previous episodes, that those who hopped on hype trains, specifically, yes, I love that you kind of had a chuckle in that. That's kind of why they died, is because they hopped on specific hype trains, right? Whether that be smoothie sour or overly hop charged IPAs or whatever it may be, right? And I apologize to any brewery who has ever found their way into that, because obviously I don't want to prey on your downfall, but I think market saturation is overly healthy for craft beer. And I think that I can't state more that I love your take that, like, in 26 into 27 or 27 into 28, that we'll find a more subtle rise back into craft beer. I think it's a weird thing right now for, like, I think we see lagers kind of taking their form. And we see that trend of smoothie sour kind of reducing its domination on the market, and we're seeing this reduction of overly hop charged IPA dominating the market. So it's always refreshing to hear an expert in the industry talk about the things that I've always believed in. So great take, phenomenal analysis on what the market should be. Jack and Lucas, do you guys have any predictions on what the market might be outside of what Marty already stated?
Lucas, you look like you are
Well,
holding
as
your breath.
well, it's as somebody who works as a brewer, it is I don't know, it's scary to see what people that, people that you would see at the Brewers conference every year, you aren't seeing the same faces all the time, and
Mhm.
it's scary for, it's just a scary time, and in my opinion, just from what I'm seeing, just from, being in Ohio and seeing how many breweries, and it wasn't this year, but it was last Ohio Brewers Conference. It was mentioned that it was the first time that 24 was the first time that there were more breweries that closed in Ohio than opened. And it's sad because you don't want to see anybody do bad. You
Mhm.
don't. Um, it's and as for me, I feel like I'm in a very fortunate situation. The brewery I work for, we are the uh only brewery in this suburb of Columbus. And the Columbus beer scene has always been great, and there's a lot of people working together with each other, and it's a great place to be making craft beer. I know that, but it's just kind of a like, oh well, somebody else just closed this month, and then
Yeah.
you see recent things like some of the big breweries, like what's going on with them, like with Rogue,
Well,
what Rogue went through, and Brewdog just being bought out. I mean, say what you will on the other things that happened with Brewdog, but uh, seeing them being bought out by a major conglomerate is just, it's kind of like a it, shaking, like shaky ground. It's what it feels like some days, but
Yeah. And Marty, I'm curious to get your perspective on this, but obviously we've seen a handful of mergers, if you want to call them that, buyouts. I think we just saw one within the last couple of weeks. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Firestone Walker bought out Stone.
mhm.
Um,
which is wow.
yeah, it's mind
Yeah,
blowing. It was
that one
so
was pretty
mind blowing
crazy.
that I almost wrote it like a 5-page article on it. But I think in a sense, obviously, Marty, you can comment on it with your own thoughts. But for me specifically, I think this is a trend we start seeing moving forward. I think it's just another way for craft brewers to help craft brewers, right?
I think it's a logical progression. First and foremost, and you guys have probably heard this 100 times before, that we're talking about a business here. We
Yeah.
can we can extol the virtues of craft beer and talk about how we love to drink it, but each brewery is a business. They're in business to make money. They have to do what they have to do. And when they start getting of a certain size, they're being eyeballed by those breweries bigger than them, or maybe brewers on the same level who can somehow manage some kind of merger where they both benefit from that merger. I don't know if you guys remember several years ago, Boston Beer Company and Dogfish Head.
Yeah.
They did what they did. They did
Yep.
it for mutual protection. It was probably the smartest move those two men ever made.
Oh, 100%. I looked into that merger, and I was like, the way to go, guys. Like,
They made their position so much better and
Yeah.
stronger as a duo, as a team, so to speak,
Mhm.
than they were individually. So great move. And I got a feeling we're going to be seeing more of that kind of partnerships. Um, yeah, like Firestone taking over Stone or buying or whatever the term is. And by the way, Firestone has Mortgat's money behind them, so they may not be done shopping yet.
Oh, I'm sure. And I know that merger between Firestone and um just Stone in general is very, there's a lot of complexity behind it. I know that Sapporo has some skin in the game, and I know there's certain specific um brew portions of the brewery that are going to one space than the other. Do you think that's going to be the driver behind it, is essentially who the majority owner is in those companies that are buying other companies? Do you think that'll drive a lot of that we're not done buying yet mentality?
Hard to say, but when you have companies with the money that Mortgat has and that Sapporo does, and there are other big players out there too that I wouldn't be surprised if they start making moves. Um, yeah, when you have their kind of money, they can throw their weight around. However, I think I have to give Mortgat credit in that they've been, from my perspective, and I don't know everything that's going on behind the scenes, but I think they've been very hands off with Firestone, which I think is great because they've left the Firestone name intact, and the product, as far as I can tell, they're leaving the product intact too. So kudos to Mortgat for that. But that may not be the same in other situations. Depending on who the big brewer is with the deep pockets, they might come in and with the battering ram and change everything about the beer and the brewery and its name and brand. Hard to say.
The Stone, F- Firestone buying Stone is just it boggles my mind to an extent.
Yeah.
To an extent, just because of how Stone has advertised themselves as like we're the bad boys in brewing. You want to drink our arrogant bastard ale? You're not man enough. And and just other things they've said on packaging and social media posts like we're never gonna make a seltzer. Are you kidding me? And then they make a seltzer. It's I don't know. I just it surprises me that they were allowed themselves to be bought out.
That's not that surprising. I think at the end of the day, when you look at a brewery that, I don't know if you ever saw the video of them completely dismantling the Reinheitsgebot when they went over to Germany. They said, hey, we're going to build a brewery over here. We're not going to follow any of your laws, and we're going to see how many people love it. Like, that's not shocking that they're going to be like, hey, we need the support that we need. But the segue that, I'm curious, Marty, to end this podcast, because it is time to end the podcast. What do you have to leave those who are new to craft beer, or those who really want to dive deep? What are some of the things you think that would make them successful in diving deep into craft beer? What are
Meaning
your
consumers.
words? Just anyone in general, not specifically brewers, those connoisseurs, brewers, or anyone in between.
Well, there's a couple of different ways I can take this. Number one is from a consumer standpoint, you know what you like. Don't let anybody else tell you what you should be drinking or don't follow the fads. Drink what you like because there are so many choices out there to be made, even love. So take your time, be experimental, and educate yourself. It doesn't hurt to learn a little bit about what it is you're drinking. Learn about the product, learn about the style, learn about the brewery. I think that's all very helpful. It's in making an educated consumer is a good consumer. So, yeah, I would run with that. Um, and I'll throw this in there because it's my favorite motto. Every beer is an education. It's possible, it is very possible that you're going to drink a beer that you don't like. Well, okay, fine. Chalk it up to experience. You learned something, didn't you? You drank a beer, you didn't like it, you learned. You know you won't buy that beer again. Move on. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
These we're not talking about like I grew up with my father who always drank the same cheap, crappy beer all the time. Yeah, I mean, he didn't have a lot of choice, but nevertheless, he was um, he was very loyal to his brand. And no one has to be that way this day. I don't think anybody is, but there's no reason to be either. If you don't like what they're selling at Brewery A, go to Brewery B because you never know.
Yeah.
Nailed it. I couldn't have said it better myself. Jack and Lucas have both had the opportunity to drink with me. Jack more than Lucas because he's in
Because you
Ohio,
don't
but
invite me.
sure, whatever you want to chalk it up as. But I think they both seen through my specific experience and their own as well that we enjoy craft for what we like. And we've never been ones to push a specific style on somebody. So truer words have never been spoken from your eyes. And again, I can't thank you enough for coming on and taking the time out of your day to talk about, the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame and your specific background. So, Marty, thank you a ton for coming on and kind of talking to everyone who listens to us. Go ahead, Lucas.
I had one final question, and I think this is a question we should keep a track of because Marty, you sparked this idea in me, and when we have future guests on the show, I think this is going to be the question that we, at the end, we appreciate you coming on, of course. Thank you so much.
Yes.
But for most people out there, I mean, I have my own go-to. I've only been brewing. I've only been brewing for a couple of years. I'm not, uh, but what is your go-to like macro beer?
Ah, sounds like a trap. um, I'll be honest with you. I don't drink macro beers very often,
Okay.
but on the occasion that I do, see, a lot of times I'll buy macro beer for cooking purposes, or what do you call it, barbecuing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
So what I will pick up is Pabst. I like PBR. I think it's one of the best macro beers out there. So that's my go-to.
How about, have you tried the new pickle PBR?
It's funny that you asked that because I just tried it 2 days ago. My son-in-law turned 30, and my daughter had a party for them, and somebody at that party brought Pabst pickle beer, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" So I asked if I could keep a can. I chilled it down, and I just had it on Saturday night, and I gotta say, it's not terrible. I mean,
Not bad.
I've had worse.
I found it the other day and had to try it. I'm a big pickle
Personally, I
beer
think
guy.
it's pretty ballsy of Pabst to put that beer out. It's
And people are going crazy for it. It seems like so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I want to thank you as well, Marty, for coming on. Obviously, American Craft Beer Hall of Fame.com. Everybody should go take a look and see what Marty and his team are building. It's pretty impressive, and follow along each year as there's new inductees. But I don't know, Marty, is there anything else you want to plug before we end here?
I don't know. You guys are doing a damn good job. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Well, guys, for all of those of you who are listening along, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. You can find us anywhere podcasts are streamed, along with YouTube, and leave a comment below and let us know what you think. But until then, see you guys in the next one.
Cheers.
Cheers.